Wales Mariners, champions of Australia.
And so the latest chapter of this intra-city squabble that has many plots and subplots is about to get underway. The return of Marko Rudan to the sideline, Milos Ninkovic pouring more petrol on his strained relationship with his former employers. Sydney FC's desire to exact revenge from last November, all wrapped up in a cacophony of red, black and sky blue noise from the stands. It'll be frantic and fractious, just as any good derby should be. Whether it's Manchester, Merseyside, Milan, Santiago, Seoul or Sydney, these are the games that matter just that little bit more. And CommBank Stadium simply built for nights like these. Not far from where the game of football was first played in Sydney, all the way back in 1880 on Parramatta Common. Then it was a team called Wanderers who played in front of a crowd of around 1,000. 144 years later, a packed house awaits the modern-day version of the Wanderers for the 37th Sydney derby. And the red and black block tifo stretches all the way around 3/4 of CommBank Stadium tonight. Only the Sydney FC end of the ground missing as the players make their way out onto the pitch. Let battle commence for the 37th Sydney derby. Marko Rudan and Ufuk Talay, old mates of course, but not for the next 90 minutes. Rudan back on the touchline this evening. Here's the team he's picked. He makes one change from the side that defeated Adelaide United last week. Josh Brillante drops out of the matchday squad with a hamstring problem, with Sonny Kittel coming in for his first start for the club in what is a bit of a midfield rejig. The German, we think, will play in a more advanced role, with Alex Badalato dropping deeper. Still no Lawrence Thomas, so Daniel Margush continues between the posts, and Zach Saxford returns on the bench after scoring the winner against Sydney at Allianz last November. One change as well, and a rejig for Sydney FC. Luke Bratton, of course, suspended after picking up 5 yellow cards, so Anthony Caceres will feature alongside Corey Holman, and Max Burgess makes his first start in a month. Ufuk Talay opts not to break up the central defensive pairing of Jake Goodwood-Reich and Hayden Matthews. Gabriel Lacerda therefore remains on the bench, and Ryan Grant captains the team in his 29th Sydney derby. Well, there is Marko Rudan, as we say, back on the sidelines tonight after serving that 2-match touchline ban. Sydney FC fans used to refer to him as the Big Blue Man after his spell there as a player. Tonight, of course, he is their enemy. And these sorts of occasions certainly don't faze Ufuk Talay. During his playing days, he played in the Galatasaray Fenerbahce derbies in Turkey. And he will want his first derby win as head coach of Sydney FC this evening. Next referee this evening is Alex King, a Queenslander, who is taking charge of this derby for the 6th time. By the way, Wanderers haven't lost any of the previous 5 he's officiated in. It's been a great old day in Sydney, but this event certainly about to light things up. The pre-match huddle always has that little extra edge on derby day. As for Brandon Borrello, he's got a bit of history with Sydney FC, hasn't he? From his bang average comments last season to that foot injury sustained in the first derby in November, which caused him to miss the Asian Cup. He's never scored against Sydney FC. There's the Sky Blues captain for tonight. Ryan Grant turned 33 last week, out of contract at the end of the season. Says he wants to stay. I'm pretty sure he will, though. That's the perfect setting. As we say, it's been a great day in Sydney, but a warm one nonetheless, and conditions near perfect for kick-off. This could be edge-of-your-seat stuff. The 37 Sydney derby is underway, the pride of the city at stake. Who wins it and why, Andy Harper?
Evening, Simon, and to everybody around Australia on the 10 Network and Paramount Plus for what I think will be compelling viewing tonight. I mean, rarely do these matches let you down, but there's a sense of momentum for different reasons around both clubs. And I think it'll go down to the bounce of a ball, Simon. Very difficult to predict. Inconsistent results for the Wanderers over recent...
little flashpoint, Andy.
There'll be a few of them.
Jake Goodwin, right? Just say to Brandon Barella, I don't care that you played for the Socceroos. I don't care you're more experienced than me. I'm here. And get ready for me.
Well, he...
Quickly taken throw. Let's break off. Milanovic waiting in the middle, but the ball was behind him. And it was a good opening that for the Wanderers, but it didn't have the requisite quality ending.
Brilliant opening for the Wanderers. The foul on Barella. Sydney didn't get back and set themselves in the left full-back position. It was punctured by Barella, and the ball in to the centre of the goal. It was just behind Milanovic, who's been in great form, the youngster.
And that brings the "Who do we sing for?" cry to the throats of the throngs in the stands dressed in red and black tonight. It really is such a special occasion, and Sydney FC, by the way, have got plenty of their supporters here, tucked away in a corner of the ground as well. And they will make themselves heard at certain points throughout the night. There they are. Tale's team unbeaten in 6 in the early, but of course because of that poor start playing catch-up, they've got the game's first corner though, off the head of Alex Bonneting.
No, good start to the game, a great chance for the Wanderers, and now Sydney with their first effort with the ball have won the corner, from which they've been dangerous this year, this season.
The Wanderers have only conceded 1 goal from a corner this season. Joe Lolly rolls it short. And change of angle and headed in! What a beauty for Sydney FC! And it's the skipper on the night, Ryan Grant, inside 3 minutes to send those sky blue hordes into ecstasy in the corner of Combank Stadium.
Well, before the game has even really been able to settle on the Harvey Norman replay, it's a pretty routine sequence from the corner, but there is nothing at all routine about this header from Ryan Grant. It's a blistering bash with the forehead into the back of the net. At the Sydney FC end of the ground, nominally, what a great start for the Sky Blues. Joe Lolly on point with that really crisp delivery. And that is a banger from Ryan Grant to give his team the lead. 2 minutes in.
It's his 3rd goal of the season. A late birthday present. Likes the blue touch paper for this derby. The sky blue touch paper, if you like. The Wanderers caught cold. And now the tackle's starting to fly, and Caceres digs it out. Here's Joe Lolly. Gomez had drifted into an offside position. Simmons climbs high. Sydney reset. Burgess across the face. And acrobatically away from Jorrit Hendricks. Gertwood Reich will work it out to the left again. And all those plans of Marco Rodan Harps thrown out of the window. He talked in the pre-game of playing through the Sydney FC press, but the first corner undid the red and black.
Well, before the game has been able to settle into any pattern at all, has had that excellent sign-on goal just previous, but Sydney have been menacing from corners. And you reported that the Wanderers had only conceded 1 in the lead up till now. And that was just such an emphatic finish from Ryan Grant, and the tackle's really flying in here, which is to be expected.
On the other side of that ledger, by the way, Sydney have now scored 8 goals from corners. That's more than any other team in the league. Here's Max Burgess weaving his way through. Marcelo makes the block. And there are appeals for handball and a penalty awarded for Sydney FC. Goodness me, what an extraordinary start to this Sydney derby. Alex King was well positioned and says handball. Marco Rudan cannot believe it.
Well, in the lead-up, look at this turn of speed from Burgess, and Battolado just left in his wake. Jack Clisby can make no impression. And then probably, before it gets to the penalty situation, Max Burgess should have finished that one. And there's the arm up in the air of Milanovic. It's one of these accidental ones, but there's no question that it hit. That's like Lockie Brook, actually.
Yeah, and the arm is away from the body, as you say, Harps. I can't see that VAR will overrule this.
It's a freakish start for Sydney if, as we expect, the penalty will be confirmed. There's a great chance to skip 2 clear. The clock yet to tick over 6 minutes. Remarkable.
Fabio Gomez, whose last 2 goals in the competition have both been penalties against Western United and Adelaide United, with a chance to give Sydney FC a big cushion here early on. That's where his last 5 spot kicks have gone. Daniel Margush will have done his homework. Big moment this, and we've only played 6.5 minutes. Fabio Gomez against Daniel Margush. The stutter from the Brazilian, and he sends him the wrong way. And Sydney FC are too clear. Sky blue heaven in a corner of Combank.
Well, here's the bounce of the ball that went against the Wanderers. I don't think there's anything intentional from that, from Lockie Brook on the Harvey Norman replay. The penalty is the way it goes nowadays, and this is the way it goes from Fabio Gomez. He doesn't miss, or hasn't yet, from the spot. And in their heart of hearts, I dare say Sydney FC could barely have imagined a start like this. 2-0.
Well, if there's a sense of joy in that particular corner, there's a sense of shock around the rest of Combank Stadium. His 8th of the season, joins Joe Lolley as the Sky Blues' top scorer this campaign. But the Wanderers, like a boxer, just caught 2 very big hits to the jaw, and they've got to settle themselves down, because here comes Sydney FC again, rampant at the moment, the Sky Blues. Joe Lolley down the right. Now for Burgess, just overruns it.
Well, the freshness of Max Burgess, it's really something at the moment. And since that remarkably good chance for the Wanderers inside the first minute, it's just all been Sydney. And they've looked up from that chance that went amiss for them. And they find themselves 2 goals down and under extraordinary pressure. I mean, Sydney not letting them rest at all.
Milos Ninkovic watching on. He poured a bit more petrol on the derby rivalry this week as Burgess crosses. Gomez waits, and Margush missed it completely. Still there for Joe Lolley. A cross with the outside of that left peg, and the Wanderers desperate to get it away. And Lachlan Brook ensures just a wee bit of respite for the Wanderers.
But it's a wicked ball again from Max Burgess. How prominent has he been? And he actually had that time again, and Gomez would back himself. Margush all at sea in the Wanderers' goal. And the red and black, suffice to say, look, significantly rattled, Simon.
Here's Sonny Kittle. He's played in plenty of big games during his lengthy European career. He must be wondering what this is all about, goodness me. Ryan Grant to drive it across. Reaches Gomez, holds it up. Robert Mack will ferry it back through Corey Holman. And Girdwood Reich to Courtney Perkins. Now Burgess, just to slow things down a little for Sydney FC. But they have simply flown out of the blocks. Hayden Matthews playing in his first big derby occasion. That's going to get clear of Joe Lolly. But it did take a little touch off a defender, so it is going to be a corner. I did wonder why Joe Lolly didn't seem too eager to try and track him down.
No, there was a clear deflection. The only person who didn't see it was the assistant referee, who flagged for a goal kick. And I think before anything blew up, the referee overruled. And they defend this one better, the Western Sydney Wanderers.
Well, they've been warned. Joe Lolly leaves it this time for Robert Mack, the outswinger. Marcelo's underneath it. Walker want to control Max Burgess, but he did really well. Lolly for Mack. Burgess completes that triangle. It's a strong challenge by Clisby, and ultimately an unfair one. Free kick, Sydney FC, and a bit of a talking to Jack Clisby by Alex King.
He didn't tickle Max Burgess at all. He's caught that left ankle under the weight of the Jack Clisby slide tackle.
Yeah, that's a nasty one. And Vitale is deep in conversation with Tim Danaskos, the fourth official. Probably asking about a yellow card, I would imagine.
Tim Danaskos perhaps looking for a bit of refuge after last weekend against the Victory, where it was just going off like grandmas. But not when you got a full Talo 10 metres to your right. You'll be questioning respectfully, for the most part, hopefully, everything that goes on.
Another big moment here, potentially. Joe Lolly to drive it in low with pace. Wanderers deal with that. Caceres directing Lolly as to where he wanted him to go. Swept upfield for the Wanderers by Clisby. And this is Hayden Matthews. Clisby's intervention. Ryan Grant wins the aerial duel. Won't quite sit for Jorrit Hendricks. It's a good steal though by Aidan Simmons. And he was bopped off the ball by Gomez. Free kick, Western Sydney Wanderers.
12.5 minutes. The Wanderers now, as light rain falls here in Parramatta. 12.5 minutes before they've had an opportunity to really settle on the ball and try and take some of the sting out of this sky blue onslaught. And for some very welcome respite, I'm sure. They'll have to earn it in possession. Sydney aren't going to just let them take free touches and free passes.
And the Wanderers haven't won any of their last 3 matches here at Combank Stadium since they defeated Macarthur on New Year's Day. It's too strong off Aidan Simmons. Sydney FC Junior. Wanderers have got 1 or 2 in their ranks with sky blue links. And the coach does as well, of course. But he's the happier of the 2 at the moment. Steady rain falling beneath the canopies. Turned back by Alex Bonatic. Marcus descended forwards. But Borello is challenging for the ball from an offside position. Good with right. Looking for Joe Lolly, who leapt well. Clisby preventing the corner. Clisby's just dropped down to his haunches, maybe just got a Alberta whack there. Yeah, there's a bit of blood. It's appeared around that left eye. It's going to need some attention. This might not be a bad thing for the Wanderers, Andy, just to take a little bit of a breather.
Certainly, certainly, and it's been pretty much a flood of sky blue down the right-hand side. There's the contact there from Joe Lolly on Jack Clisby, which has just opened him up just over his left eyebrow.
Well, whilst we've got this break, let's go down and say good evening to Scott McKinnon, who's pitch side for us. Hope you got your brolly, Scott.
Of course, it wouldn't be a Saturday night without it. Simon got the brolly up. I tell you who else is up is the Cove. They are going absolutely ballistic, and I must say, the RBB are very, very quiet. They were up and about at the start, but those 2 goals have stung them big time. And I'm sitting right near Ufuk Talay. He was so pumped when that handball went down. He gave us the double fist pump, kind of made eye contact with him. He is just absolutely loving this start. It's funny to see, I'm right near the halfway line, and the Wanderers are struggling to get over it. They're really battling to get down Sydney's end of the field, so this stoppage will hopefully help them reset and recalibrate, because it's all Sydney from now.
Yeah, it is at the moment. Thank you very much, Scott. Lengthy treatment from the Wanderers club doctor for Jack Clisby. He was in the wars, I remember, last week against Adelaide, got a couple of head knocks. I guess for a defender in hearts, it's sort of part of the territory, but it's not what you like to see.
No, and so for Jack's sake, it is just a flesh wound, and Chicluna warming up just in case. He can't continue, and they can't stop the flow of that blood. I just wonder how much longer the referee will allow them the on-field treatment, certainly giving Coach Marco Rudan not such a happy return into the technical area, but I'm sure he'd rather be there, particularly given the way things have started for his team, than up in the bleachers. I guess if here's the contact again, it's that right arm of Joe Lolly catching Jack Clisby. I guess the only positive for the Wanderers, Simon, is that the early hemorrhage of goals has happened early, gives them time to try and establish some sort of foothold in the match. They've been clearly the second best for the opening stanza. They've got a lot of work to do to turn this one around.
Well, it is the 10th time this season they have conceded the first goal. There's Lawrence Thomas, who's currently out with a foot injury, the Wanderers goalkeeper, the first choice goalkeeper. The 10th time they've conceded the first goal this season, and they are yet to win. And of course, it's not just the one goal that they conceded tonight, it's 2.
The Sydney derbies the recent ones haven't been high-scoring affairs. There's been a bit of a trend of stunning goals being scored by the away team.
Here's a chance, set quite nicely on the half volley for Lolly.
Sweet. It was on his left foot. The Wanderers might have been in more trouble.
Morello trying to get front position ahead of Gertwood Reich. He's played it pretty well so far. Just that one little scare in the opening minute or so of the game, where Sydney FC went to sleep for a moment from the throw. Here's Clisby, who's been patched up and is good to go again. That ball for Bonatic was left a little bit short. Sydney FC doing the pressing again now. Marco Rudan said, we're going to play through that press. Let's see if they're good enough to do so.
Yeah, and hold their nerve. They haven't been good enough so far, generally. Sydney are too sharp, which seems to have caught the Wanderers a little bit by surprise. Of course, when you concede 2 goals early, it's pretty natural that you just lose a little bit of zip.
Stoppage, by the way, for Jack Clisby's injury. He was on the ball here. It was about 3.5 minutes, so we'll get a stoppage time to add on at the end of the first half, which is still quite some way off. Ivanovic caught offside on the back of his 2-goal salvo against Adelaide United last week. Brilliantly taken, both those goals, but Just going a fraction too early.
Yeah, and this is the double whammy. Finding it difficult to play through, and Sydney push up, so the option to go over the top into the exposed areas behind the defensive line. You come unstuck with a mistimed run, and again Sydney can just build more and more pressure.
Here's Gomez. Ollie working hard to win possession back and trying to tee up Max Burgess. It's an awkward one for him. He actually did well to get meaningful contact on the ball. Spinning and looping up over the shoulder. There's that press again. It's a wondrous throw, but untidy. And the RBB has gone AWOL. Quite sure what that's all about. Are they walking out in disgust, or was this a planned protest? Anyway, for the time being, they vacated their spots on the terrace. Let's see if they return. Here comes Sydney FC again. That's a good take by Margush. Flying through the air.
See if the Wanderers can respond quickly now in possession while there are some Sydney players upfield.
Sonny Kittle. That's a handy ball, and Varello is onside here. There's no flag. Big chance, Wanderers. 2-1. Oh, and now the flag goes up. They will check it. Tidy finish by Brandon Varello, but the offside flag was raised, and in accordance with the rules, of course, they are told to keep their flag down until the phase of play is completed. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's off.
Yeah, 3 of them had run offside. And the Sydney defence so well coordinated. It's a good finish in the end from Brandon Varello. Not that it counts, obviously, under real pressure. Good for the practice run, let's say.
He's yet to score this season. Very injury-disrupted season, of course, for Brandon Varello. Still awaiting that first ever goal against Sydney FC. It's his 14th game against the Sky Blues tonight. Sydney have pinched the ball back again. Well, they're just not comfortable under that pressure, are they? Corey Holman applying the press this time.
They've been very dogged. I mean, they've done it so well, actually. But 2-0 barely looks like the reward they should have had for themselves.
Here's Brook, desperately trying to escape the clutches of that press, and now the offside flag up again against Brandon Varello.
Yeah, they've got to do better. The guys in the front, it's easy to say, they've actually got the easier job of everyone at the moment. I mean, the defence is under pressure, the midfield finding it difficult, but to their credit, still trying to play through. And when you're looking for that release ball, what you don't need is the people with the easiest job of the sequence to drift offside.
Goes off the head of Jack Clisby. Wanderers get the verdict. Free kick. Moment, just a matter of trying to clear their heads, you sense, the red and black. They are caught in a cobra movement from Sydney FC. Wherever they go, they put the squeeze on. Dave Matthews with the latest intervention. Here's Robert Mack, or rather Joe Lolly, I should say. Getting rid of one defender and a second, not the third, who was Hendricks. Immediately his teammate sweeping up behind to help out.
Yeah, it's been excellent, really, from Sydney. And the players are all on point. There's great synchronicity with and without the ball.
Forward by Matthews. Won't reach Gomez. So how do the Wanderers get out of this particular pickle, Andy?
Well, they need to keep the ball a little better. You start actually with the guys up front. If the game can change quickly with a goal, just stay on side. So that if we can pick our way through, we can have a legitimate play at their goal. But better signs in the last couple of minutes, just stringing a couple of passes together. And as I recall, it was for the first 13 minutes, they couldn't do any of that. And it just goes back again to that Sydney point. You know, there's the likelihood is that they won't have the Wanderers on the ropes for the whole game. And so now that they've got this, enjoying this utter dominance and creating other chances, they could actually put the game to rest.
Rain still tumbling in Parramatta. At least the Wanderers have stopped the bleeding for now. This is Kittle as they try and launch an attack. Sonny Kittle beaten away by Redmayne. Here's Borrello and Redmayne there again. Good double stop by the Sydney FC goalkeeper.
And that's how it can change. A good passing sequence. Nice work from Lanovic and then releasing Kittle. Intuitive touch inside. Good effort beaten away by Redmayne. And that's really confident from Brandon Borrello, completely belying the status of the game at the moment. And either side of Redmayne, that goes in and the Wanderers are back. That's how close this thing can be, called football.
By the way, if you're wondering why both goalkeepers are wearing number 0 today, it's the campaign being run by Transport New South Wales. People obeying the laws on the roads. Daniel Margush and Andrew Redmayne supporting that campaign by wearing that number this evening. Only Andrew Redmayne has a 0 next to his name at the moment in terms of the scoreboard. Here's Max Burgess to get to the byline. Got the cross in. So the flag had gone up, maybe for offside against Burgess, but Alex King has acknowledged that and said let's play on as the Wanderers have the ball. Drilled out by Marcelo towards Clisby. Over the top, this is a good run by Milanovic to try and steal him behind, but Hayden Matthews just easing him off the ball. Two youngsters at the heart of the Sydney FC defence have done pretty well so far in the white hot heat of the Sydney derby. What about that for a release, by the way, from Hayden Matthews for Robert Mack. Pity the Slovak couldn't go on with it from Sydney's point of view. Marcelo's missed out Brook. Poor touch from Matthews. Probably his first of the game. And the Wanderers are back on the ball. Bonnety. Badalato. Now Hendricks. And Clisby. And Borrello trying to make that angle run to get him behind Skirtwood Reich. He believes he was being held by the Sydney FC defender, but Alex King not interested. To think we've not even played half an hour as yet. So much has happened in the early stages of this derby.
Very, very eventful. But the Wanderers just steadying the ship so slightly. And look what Tallay's team has put in a lot with reward in the first half hour. Their ability to continue that for long periods is a big question. Just starting to find some space now with some completed passes and better movement from the Wanderers.
Here's Lockie Brook. Borrello got all tangled up with Ryan Grant. Alex King signals that it was just merely a coming together of bodies, and Sydney FC get the throw.
Yeah, I think Brandon's run was just a little bit narrow on the angle there. Looking And for Lockie Brook to get that in behind Ryan Grant into a dangerous goal-scoring position, which is what Brandon was asking. By the nature of that run, you're asking, Lockie, can you drop this actually on a 5-set piece? I think he would have been better just staying wide, play the ball in front, then Brule could have done his thing with Ryan Grant, or tried at least.
Forward, but there's just nobody there for Western Sydney. Brook remonstrating with his goalkeeper, saying you can't play the ball too early when we're not set. That little bit of discord sort of sums up this opening half an hour for the Wanderers. It's been really tough going for the home team. Badalato punches it out wide for Aidan Simmons, who's being pursued by Burgess and by Caceres. Again, Sydney FC double teaming to good effect. Great balance shown by Caceres, and now Gomez, and they could be in again, Sydney. Here's Joe Lolly, good save, Daniel Margush, to prevent further damage to the scoreboard.
Now, what a brilliant attack from Sydney too. Started with Caceres, and just when the Wanderers, like any team, think they've got him, look, he just uses his body, more importantly his touch. Immaculate touch. This Sydney attack then was able to continue. The Wanderers defenders, Bonatic dropping off, creating that, or allowing for that little bit of extra space. And then Joe Lolly pouncing, but Margush was excellent to deny the Englishman.
Grant's making his move towards the near post again. It's helped up by Mack and Gomez. Well, he got clean contact. He wriggled clear of his marker, but couldn't hit the target. Another chance for Sydney FC.
Yeah, it sure was. Gomez is getting better as the season goes on. He's yet to really demonstrate that he's a serious aerial threat. That was a chance. He could have actually built some real confidence.
Well, that's clever.
He's brilliant.
From Caceres. Really inventive. Joe Lolly, cross deflected. Gomez's header came back off Simmons. Burgess to retrieve. Hits the byline, clips it in, away by Hendricks. Reset through Caceres. Now Matthews out for Grant. And that's well defended by Yorick Hendricks. And clever from Sonny Kittle, who was then dragged back by Caceres. The whistle blows belatedly, and the Wanderers will ask for a card for Caceres. Looks like they're going to be disappointed, though.
There's Lolly steaming in on Hendricks, who did brilliantly. It would have probably possibly been a foul, but no advantages accrued. If it goes back, this is an interesting one. The context of the game, trouble for Joe Lolly.
Such an important player, isn't he? For Sydney FC. By the way, his assist for the opening goal, netted by Ryan Grant. It's the first time he's had a big impact on the Sydney derby. No goals or assists in this fixture prior to today. One of only two clubs in the competition against whom he hasn't made his mark, the other being MacArthur. Ryan Grant's the profiteer from that pinpoint delivery. It's quite a half-time team talk coming up for Marco Rudan. His first in a couple of weeks, of course. After being sent to the stands a few weeks back. Does he make changes, either in terms of personnel or approach? He's got 10 minutes to think about it. Of course, he does have Milos Ninkovic on the bench, Andy.
Yeah, just back. Not sure if Milos has got a full 45 in him, but you can imagine Wanderers can take back the lead by a goal, then Milos does come into the discussion, most certainly.
Retiring at the end of the season, of course. There's open pasture here for Jordan Courtney-Perkins to advance into. Burgess looking to attack Simmons on the outside. Caceres. Gets it back on Burgess. Good with Reich. Caceres just looking to thread the needle for Gomez, which was an option that wasn't quite open. Now look how quickly Sydney FC look to press and win the ball back. That's what they've been really good at in this first half. Oh, and Clisby was reaching into that. He's connected with Grant, and there's going to be a card here for Jack Clisby. It's just yellow. But he lost control of the ball, and in his attempts to win it back, just overreached.
And his leg's very hard.
It's high as well, you know. Anyway, I don't think there's a lot of force behind it.
No, and I don't think the sole of his boot connects necessarily. Hard to tell on that action. But it's honestly, given everything recently,
you run the risk, don't you?
Given really, yeah. Jack's very, very experienced player.
VAR, of course, is looking at this just in case. Chris Griffiths-Jones in the booth today. For now, it's just the yellow. Matthews with the free kick straight into the arms of Daniel Margush. Now Badalata making that more central role in midfield today for the Wanderers. That's a good touch by Milanovic, but the second one was heavy, which allowed Goodwood Wright to gobble up that ground. It's been a series of nearly moments for the Wanderers. Sliding challenge by Borrello. Sydney still get the throw. That first touch was great. The second one, less so. Courtney-Perkins. Score of that absolute bomb of a goal against Melbourne City last week, which earned Sydney FC a share of the spoils. But, the Wanderers win in Adelaide, of course, knocked them down to 6th. Those places can be reversed today if Sydney FC, as looks likely at the moment, get the 3 points.
Well, there have been some flashes, promising flashes from the Wanderers, but really that's from within the umbrella of very, very dominant Sydney performance. Might have had more than the 2 goals. Certainly might have troubled Margush more than they have. He's made one great save. Daniel Margush might have been tested on more occasions.
Here's Jack Clisby for the Wanderers. Badalato. Marcelo. Simmons. Immediately shut down by Caceres. Clisby. So it's getting an awful lot of Sonny Kittle, and instead Sydney will attack. It's Fabio Gomez. It's a good block made by Alex Bonneting.
One intercepted pass again, and all hell breaks loose from a Wanderers viewpoint. Another good chance. There's good coverage there from Bonneting. He defended that really nicely. He just showed Fabio Gomez where he wanted him to go, and then closed in as the Brazilian looked to shoot. Corner comes. The first of these for the half was where Sydney got their goal, or one of their goals.
Sydney's 4th corner of the game. Wanderers yet to win one. Driven across with real pace by Lolly. Missed everyone, but Grant to retrieve. Burgess. plenty forward for Sydney. Burgess had to drift towards the penalty area, but it's not the best quality on the cross from Maxi Burgess, but he's had a good first half.
Stunning to start the game, really electric. That was a waste. Whoopsie.
Oh, they're in trouble again, the Wanderers. Fabio Gomez. Margush redeems himself. Goodness me. Well, that was like the Keystone Cops at the back there for Western Sydney Wanderers. And they were very nearly made to pay the price.
Well, it's a hospital pass, and Hendricks is feeling worse for wear. And Sydney, again, on this evidence, now they should have put this game out of the question. Margush saving his own bacon there with a good reflex save. And it should be 3 for Sydney.
So Joe Lolly once again in front of the Sydney FC fans. And it goes off Marcelo. So it's there for Grant. I guess we could call that a shot. Again, the Wanderers look to play out through the press. Again, they're not quite able to do so. Might do this time. Clisby. Grant just stepping in front of Milanovic, who then said, "I'll have that back, thanks." Matthews, goal side of Sonny Kittle. Reflection might make it awkward. Gertwood Reich busted a gut to get there. That's been the story of Sydney FC's first half, and now the Wanderers could be in trouble again. Robert Mack on the move. Outside him is Max Burgess. 2 in the box, still Burgess. Lolly, clever ball by Joe Lolly. Courtney Perkins managed to keep it alive, but actually he didn't, and it was a poor first touch that meant all that forward momentum was stymied for Sydney FC.
Well, there's 2 issues for the Wanderers going into half-time. Courtney Perkins was judged to be an offside, I think. Anyway, whatever, the restart's virtually the same. There's playing through the press, which is terrific, and they're doggedly trying to stick with that, but there's trying to play through Sydney FC players. Too many passes going straight into Sydney FC players' feet is the first thing, and really finding it difficult, the Wanderers, to lock up the centre of the field. Every time they lose the ball, there's a real possibility that Sydney can do something. Maybe a Thomas Beadling to come into the centre of midfield just to shore things up.
Well, it's also why I raised the spectre of Milos Ninkovic, and you're right in saying he might not have 45 in him. Let's see how this pans out. Andrew Redmayne to gather that one. But he's the sort of player that can put his foot on the ball and give them that little bit of time.
No doubt about that. And I think all champions, and he's certainly one of them, love to feature in the big games, particularly when there's a sense the team really needs him, and he puts on the Batman cape and on he comes. But the ageing legs of the great man, has he got 45 minutes of this intensity? I'm sure Marco Rudan will be mulling over that.
The RBB have not returned, by the way. So there's obviously some sort of story behind that. I'm sure we'll find out in due course. This is Borello. Clipped forward by Matthews. Hendricks was there. Milanovic, now that's a foul. Could be a card here as well for Hayden Matthews. They're holding back Sonny Kittle. Otherwise, the 2 youngsters have been exemplary at the heart of the Sydney FC defence, but he knew that Sonny Kittle was away, and that was all he could do. Second caution of the derby. And gives the Wanderers a chance to throw the likes of Marcelo up for a free kick. High defensive line for Sydney FC. Hendricks sends up the signal, and it's a good area, and it's headed over by Alex Bonatic.
Well, according to the assistant referee, onside too from the free kick, which was just beautifully flighted. I suspect if it goes in and they do the replay, it's probably going to stand, but it's got to go in first, and from that range the youngster needs to score. It's an excellent free kick. Would have breathed real life into the Wanderers' half-time togetherness.
Just the Wanderers' third shot. Sydney into double figures. Just a couple of saves for Andrew Redmayne, both in the same passage of play. Might be more work for him to do here, but Girdwood Reich thunders the ball upfield.
That was superb from Girdwood Reich. He had to deal with Socceroo, Brandon Brella, as well as Milanovic, who was adding his number to that contest. And he just was so focused on clearing the danger. Girdwood Reich did it really effectively.
We're into stoppage time at the end of the first half. There's going to be 5 minutes to be added on as a minimum. Sydney FC can reflect on a very good half of football. Robert Mack trying to make it even better, but Marcelo is too strong, too wily. It's a good touch by Kittle. Now, if they can transition quickly, the Wanderers, they might be in here, but Barello and Brook completely on the wrong wavelength. And you heard the groans of frustration from those in red and black in the stands. Brought down here by Max Burgess. It's an ambitious ball, trying to seek out Robert Mack. The way that Sydney FC have played in this first half, you wouldn't have banked against it coming off. Milanovic in the sort of field position where Marco Rodin wants him. He's turned the ball over to Gomez. A little bit off balance was Corey Holman. Press again. Marco Rodin said it was the work of David Strilic, the Sydney FC assistant, called it the RB Leipzig press. The Gegenpress, if you like.
Gegenpress, yeah. That was going to be my interpretation. It certainly set the scene here.
Have just not been able to deal with it. Still a long way to go in this derby. 2-0 is not irretrievable. Sydney with the ball back high up the pitch again. Simmons back for his goalkeeper. Now Clisby's going to be pressed by Grant, and ditto Milanovic by Matthews, who's watch his step a little bit, having been booked.
Yeah, he does. If that's, believe it or not, further up the field, it doesn't matter what part of the field you concede these fouls. If that's in his own half, otherwise the same sort of exchange, he might easily picked up a second yellow.
Switch, looking a fancy for Milanovic, but didn't have enough on it. Squirms away from the reach of Sonny Kittle, and Lolly. Brilliant vision to pick out Mack, and Sydney FC are on the move forward again. Mack against Marcelo. Marcelo stands his ground. Burgess first to the rebound, goes down inside the box. Alex King right on the spot. Burgess again. Trying to jockey for position and earns his team a corner. Shorts. Again, the Wanderers a little slow to react. Drilled in low by Robert Mack. Back through Caceres. Mack. Trying to turned not once but twice, and he's in position for the return. It's Robert back, and that could have been curtains for the Wanderers.
Well, it was very statuesque type defending, almost like stunned mullets. But they've escaped.
Well, the Sydney FC press might have been made in Prussia, but it's been perfected in Parramatta. What a first half for the Sky Blues. Ryan Grant giving them the lead from Joe Lolly's corner after 3 minutes. And then Fabio Gomez from the penalty spot after Lachlan Brook had handled the ball inside the box. A Sydney performance so good, the RBB have walked out. Do the Wanderers have a response in the second half? We'll find out at the break in Parramatta. It's Western Sydney Wanderers 0, Sydney FC 2. We're off to a quick break. On the other side of it, Tara Rushton, Alex Brosk and Luke Wilkshire with their thoughts on the first half. Stay with us.
This year's Alex Tobin Medal is brought to you by Isuzu Ute, awarded to the best player of the season as nominated by the Paramount ANZ football team. The winner of the prestigious award will receive $10,000. Plus, the Isuzu Ute Alex Tobin medalist will nominate a junior football club of choice to win a brand new, top-of-the-range Isuzu D-Max or 7-seat MUX to be announced during the grand final. To stay in touch with the leaderboard, tune in for weekly updates at your home of football.
Welcome back to Combank Stadium. Sydney FC set there at the moment for what will be a third consecutive win at this particular venue. And a continuation of a sequence of results in this fixture sees the away team successful more often than not. What can the Wanderers do about it in the second half? We're about to find out. Sydney FC are going to make a change. Gabriel Lacerda is standing by. Hayden Matthews, who was booked in the first half. Maybe that's the reason that Ufuk Talay has opted to make the change. Whatever the case, the Brazilian to be introduced. And Oscar Priestman is standing alone at the moment in the Wanderers half of the pitch. Looks as though he may well be introduced for the red and black in the second 45. They are still deep in the bowels of the stadium, being given hard talking to Andy Harper, not by Marco Redan as we saw on the pictures in the halftime show, but by Marcelo, their captain.
Yeah, that's what we saw. It's probably the case that the coach's message was delivered, if bluntly, promptly, and then it was for the senior players, particularly captain Marcelo, to enter the players' headspace and show a way forward.
John Paul de Marini, the assistant coach, with the thumbs up to Oscar Priestman, and then back down the tunnel he goes. It's as though they're finally ready. Milos Ninkovic still has the bib on, so we won't be seeing him at least at the outset of the second half, but I'm sure he will have a part to play, particularly if the Wanderers do manage to get a goal back. As it stands though, Sydney FC, his former club, will be moving above the Wanderers and into fifth spot. Talay's team being left hanging around for quite some time by the home team. Now they emerge. Maybe a few strong words delivered by both captain and coach. Will we see a different Western Sydney Wanderers in this second half? Oscar Priestman, the former Sydney FC Academy player, and Gabriel Lacerda standing by to be the half-time changes. Just a reminder, earlier on today, Central Coast Mariners winning the F3 derby by a goal to nil thanks to Josh Nisbet against the Newcastle Jets. So the Mariners are top of the shop tonight. So Alex Badalato is the player replaced for Western Sydney Wanderers. Hayden Matthews for Sydney FC, and we are all set to go for the second half. Wanderers getting the ball back rolling, kicking from left to right on your screens, and almost a mistake from the kickoff from Marcelo. Just about managed to recover the ball. Might we see a change in approach from the Wanderers? I'm sure we won't from Sydney, and that's evident even from the kickoff. They're still pressing high.
No, that'll have worked to make that the cornerstone of their game. It's probably, as we look back after that stunning start to the Talay regime with the win away to Adelaide, and they found results difficult to come by for a few weeks, and perhaps that was because Talay was working the players into the new mindset, and to the extent that they've reached that position, there's probably still some room to move. but they will stick to it. It's worked very well, and see, it looks like the Wanderers might try and fight fire with fire. That was a very energetic full field press from the red and black.
And they're neatly through the first phase of the press this time. Clisby, but there it breaks down. Caceres with the intervention, and then down goes Lolly, but no foul. And the Wanderers can look to spring forward through Aidan Simmons on the right. And there was an arm across from Robert Mack, but it's not prevented his progress. Still going, Simmons. The loose ball picked up by Sonny Kittle. Bit of encouragement for the home fans. This is Jorrit Hendricks. Wide right is Brandon Borello. Looking to steal in behind Courtney Perkins, who stuck like glue to the Socceroo. And gets the ball out to safety. He's got a whack to the head for his troubles as well, the Sydney FC fullback. Yeah. It's actually the head bouncing off the turf as he fell. So Alex King just going to hold them up for a moment and make sure that Courtney Perkins is okay. So the Wanderers with that rarest of things in this particular derby, a corner in front of the Sydney FC fans. Sonny Kittle to deliver. Marcelo, one of the targets, no doubt. Redmayne gets a strong right paw to it. Then off Priestman, nodded forward by Caceres. And then further distance off Girdwood Reich. It's a real game of head tennis. Grant gets involved, Lacerda too. Jorrit Hendricks joins in. About 10 consecutive headers then, and then a real shank off the boot of Ryan Grant, which means it's going to be another Wanderers corner.
Well, that was a strange sequence. For a moment, the player should have swapped for singlets and tighter shorts. And a funny shape with the ball.
What else do you mean, Andy? Marcelo jockeying for position. He is a threat at these set-piece situations, but Lacerda underneath that one. Wanderers scrapping for their lives. Kittle can't make progress. They've set out their mindset at the start of this second half. A reminder of the teams at the start of play today. Just one change for each team. Luke Bratton, of course, out suspended. I guess it's a measure of how well Sydney FC have played that we haven't even mentioned Bratton's absence so far today. One change for the Wanderers, Josh Brillante missing out through injury. Sonny Kittle making his first start. Marcelo. Hendricks. Square for Alex Bonatic. He had one of the Wanderers' best chances in the first half. Wasn't the best ball from Bonatic, and Sydney steal it. Robert Mack is clear and makes it 3-0. No mistake. Another error from the Wanderers, and they have been punished. And Robert Mack, who scored in the finals win here in Parramatta late last season, has done it again. And Sydney are surely set for the points now.
Well, it's been a more boisterous start from the Wanderers to this second half, but the Harvey Norman replay shows their passing again has brought them unstuck. And the squeeze on Caceres forced a ricochet that ended up at the feet of the Slovakian international Robert Mack. He doesn't miss. It's a really assured finish. A lot can go wrong in those 1v1 situations, but he makes it look easy. And Sydney skip 3 clear. Impossible pre-game to predict this scoreline.
That's his 4th goal of the season. Yep, that picture tells its own story on the Wanderers bench. Again, all the best laid plans, this time at half-time, have gone awry thanks to one errant pass from Alex Bonatic. And in volume terms, Combank is sky blue at the moment. And that Sydney press again paid dividends. Here's Courtney Perkins, upended by Simmons.
Well, the speed across the ground of the Sydney players since kickoff has really been eye-watering. I haven't seen a team have this much run in them for quite some time, and it's not uncommon in A-League men's matches for teams to employ the high press. And that part of it hasn't been surprising, but it's just today they've been relentless, and maybe they've been building towards this, and maybe they're looking to build beyond this as well. But the speed and the intensity of the run right across the field from Sydney has really been something.
Well, it's shaping as a statement performance. Jake Goodwood-Reich has been involved in a bit of the verbals with Sonny Kittel. The Wanderers have got to clear their heads and just try and stay in the game. Joe Lolly with the set piece. Nice tail to it, but cleared by the Wanderers defence. Retrieved by Max Burgess. Finds the angle for the cross. Now the Wanderers will look to break. And it's a useful ball, that's by Kittel for Milanovic, who was trying to release the runner who was Lachlan Brook in the middle. What about that for a last gasp, desperate intervention?
Well, I think it sums it up. Look at, you can track Joe Lolly, who was rather deep from that attacking situation, but he's really skipped it to get back into a position where he can intervene defensively. It's a nice effort from Milanovic with the pass.
Sort of epitomises Sydney's approach, doesn't it? Joe Lolly, one of your best attacking players, not shirking his defensive duty and getting that important touch. Now the rebound will favour Nicholas Milanovic. Big chance, Wanderers couldn't take it.
Well, he's adjudged to have been offside. The form he's in, expected that to bulge the net. It's a wild lash, really. Scored a couple of beauties last week, particularly his first header. That was something.
Some rather glum faces behind those Wanderers substitutes. Tom Beadling and Dylan Parias to be introduced next break in play. Sarah's linking up with Courtney Perkins. Burgess makes 3. Goodwood-Reich. Lacerda. And now Grant. Lolly knew he couldn't reach it, took evasive action. Simmons. Driven back by Burgess. Corey Holman putting pressure on Daniel Margush. There they go again, Sydney. Can the Wanderers get out this time? Well, barely.
That's excellent. It really is excellent, and it hasn't stopped for 55 minutes.
Here's that double change for Western Sydney Wanderers. Tom Beadling to replace Alex Bonatic, and Dylan Parias on for Nicholas Milanovic. We know that Dylan Parias offers excellent pace. Tom Beadling will be a solid presence next to Marcelo, the heart of that back four for Western Sydney. But is it too late for the Wanderers? They have got an absolute mountain to climb.
Well, there's still time for what would be a miraculous escape, but we've seen it before in football. And some signs of life at the start of the second half before the error that cost the third goal. The problem for the Wanderers is that there's zero sign of Sydney relenting.
Clisby got through. Sydney have a player down is Joe Lolly. Ryan Grant continues and will look to pick out Fabio Gomez, but plucked out of the night sky by Daniel Margush. And now the whistle will blow. I think there's maybe been a clash of heads again involving Lolly and Clisby. Clisby has been involved in so many of these sorts of collisions over the last couple of weeks. You do worry about players when it's 2 or 3 times per game.
Yeah, there was the bump there. Players going in shoulder to shoulder, and as the heads bumped on the way through. And of course, you're right, Simon. It's a big issue.
Joe Lolly felt that one all right, as did Clisby, who's got a shiner under one eye and a sore head on the other part of the bonds. Simmons has lost out to Burgess, but handball, says Alex King. Caceres. Lolly perhaps still feeling his way back into the game. Didn't anticipate that particular release. That's careless from Western Sydney.
But that just you spoke about it then. Joe Lolly didn't fancy that run, and in days gone by he wouldn't have been bothered with it. But it's not part of the psyche now. I've just got to go. There's the ball. The red and black's about to get it. I've got to go and close down, and that attitude is replicated right across the field. I think Talay would have to be enormously pleased with what he's seeing from his team's application here.
Well, they lost 6 of their first 8 league matches this season, Sydney FC. But only one since. There's that 4-3 reverse to Adelaide United in the Unite round. Beaten in their last 6. They are on a march, Sydney FC. Another turnover by the Wanderers, this time by Clisby. Caceres dances his way through a couple of defenders. Oh, Beadling and Margush have got into a terrible mess here, and Fabio Gomez says thank you very much. It's 4-0. And it's the ultimate embarrassment for the red and black. They committed football suicide there. And Sydney are 4 clear.
Well, the demolition is nearly complete. On the Harvey Norman replay, Fabio still had to decide to chase that one down and sniff the opportunity, but it was all done for them. In fact, again, it was poor possession on the far touchline. The Wanderers couldn't keep possession. They've been spooked into the errors that forced the turnover, and then as they try to play out, it just goes so horribly wrong. And in some senses, for the Wanderers involved in that sequence, it's a blessing that the RBB have vacated.
Well, Fabio Gomez with the simplest of finishes once he dealt with Margush. He has 2 for the game. It's his first goal in open play since he scored against Brisbane on the 6th of January. A real poacher's goal, if you like. It is turning into a very happy evening in Western Sydney for those clad in sky blue. And he's one shy now of double figures for the campaign, the Brazilian. Well, what's the plan now, Hubs, for the Wanderers? Is it just damage limitation?
I mean, that has to come into mind. They just looked... Well, they're a badly beaten unit at the moment. Badly beaten unit, continuing to give the ball away. And there's more goals in it for Sydney if they're ruthless enough.
Here's Gomez. A touch on looking for Holman, but Lachlan Brook tracking back, and Margush to clear upfield. And do you put the blame equally on goalkeeper and defender for that error, or is it more Tom Beadling's fault than Margush?
I actually think it's wrong. I'm more supportive of the fact that the pressure has been building for an hour.
That's fair.
And the errors have just been compiling. And there was a cheap giveaway up on halfway. It's not as a crucial part of the field, and the pass to Margush came unstuck.
Here they go again. Joe Lolly fancies getting in on the scoring act. Courtney Perkins. It's total control for Sydney FC. Even the rebounds are going their way.
Mr. Priestman, the latest, to look up and try and play forward, but the ball just spinning into his shin and going out for a throw-in. Well, somehow that's not Sydney's ball.
Dylan Chicluna is going to be one of two changes. Made next breaking play by Marco Redound. Zach Sapsford is also going to come off the bench. Memories of happier derby times for the red and black. He, of course, scored the winner in late November at Allianz Stadium. Here's Aidan Simmons. Piece of weight on that one. It's found Parias. Here are those changes for the Wanderers. Jack Clisby has taken a couple of head knocks tonight, takes his leave to be replaced by Dylan Chicluna, and Sonny Kittle's first start in the competition ends after 63 minutes, and Zach Sapsford is his replacement. Simmons. McMahon and Lacerda sorted it out between them, just about.
Yeah, just. They're completely miscommunicated on that.
Jack Clisby lost in thought. I don't think he's the only one on that Wanderers bench. By the way, of course, we're now starting to get into the sort of territory where we're talking about biggest ever derby wins. At the moment, that stands at Wanderers 0, Sydney FC 5. December 2017. Sydney have got, well, just under half an hour to try and add to their tally. Could be a chance here for the Wanderers, but Sapsford just left it too short for Parias.
Yeah, the Sydney recovery run was too vigorous. At the moment sums up the difference. It's a nice pass. Ryan Grant probably keeping Saxford onside, but Lacerda stretching the legs to get back, cutting off the pass to Parias. He quite liked it.
Mack has managed to thread it through for Lolly, but good chasing back by Aidan Simmons. Didn't give up the ghost. By the way, that Sydney derby win back in 2017. 2 for Adrian Mizieski that day, and 1 for a certain Alex Cross. The Wanderers are going to get a free kick here, and there's going to be a booking as well for Max Burgess.
Yeah, as heavy as that defeat was, Simon, I don't remember it being such one-way traffic. It sounds silly because a 5-0 loss is obviously very heavy, but compared to this, it's just been utterly dominant and bruising from Sydney FC, bruising. You know, the Wanderers have not been able to take a breath. They've just been beaten to a pulp, really. And good players whose technique, because of the pressure, has completely escaped them.
Yeah, it's a high-energy style that has brought its rewards tonight. Here's the Wanderers free kick. Lolly first to the loose ball. Fielder goes off Courtney Perkins, but Shikluna with the intervention. Sapsford muscles off his man of the ball. That's a very clever ball forward and fired into the side netting by Tom Beadling. He's hoping for a corner, but he's not going to get one.
Yeah, some green shoots for the Wanderers. Lucky Brook, that was a brilliant little touch. It was a decent control from Beadling and probably rightly asked for the corner. I think Redmayne gets a stud on this. Nevertheless, that's two good attacks in the last couple of minutes for the Wanderers.
Redmayne will want a clean sheet. He's kept just the one this season. That was in the 4-0 home win over the Newcastle Jets. And if he keeps one tonight, he will rack up 50 shutouts for the Sky Blues. Here's what it means to the ladder. This is the As Live table, of course. It means that Sydney would move into 5th spot, with the Wanderers dropping down to 6th. A real tight race, particularly for the top 4, but the Mariners out in front at the moment. Claims a handball there by the Wanderers, not heeded by the officials. Burgess. A fair few players to try and pick his way through. And one or two nervous Wanderers fans in the crowd, I think, when the Wanderers are trying to play it around at the back. They managed to get out this time. Lolly. Here's Robert Mack. He'll spin out towards Lolly. He'll cross towards Gomez, who's on a hat-trick, of course. Just over the crossbar.
Oh, that was a good leap. That was a good leap. A man of his stature, I just can only
He's got
repeat.
that in his locker.
Yeah, he doesn't show it often, but this is a really good leap. Just can't quite get it down, but that was impressive and good again from Lolly. I mean, he's chased everything down today.
Now the space for Lachlan Brook on the left. Perez calling for it at the far post. Well, I think the least said about that, the better. Lachlan Brook, oh yeah, the looks of his little glance to the pitch maybe felt as though he got a bobble. It's been that sort of night for the red and black. Nothing much they can do now. It's all Sydney FC, and it has been, to be fair, since the game kicked off. Here's Borello. Brook beyond him. Borello's going to go on his own. Really get the cleanest of contacts. It was a routine save in the end from Redmayne.
Exactly, he didn't hit it at all well. Positive mindset, I guess, from Brandon Borello. There's been a stream of attacks from the Wanderers that have ended up in the Sydney penalty area. There's probably a combination of maybe Sydney just loosening up a little bit, maybe running out with a little bit of juice as well. Still the Wanderers can't find the final pass or shot.
Lolly. No way around Shikluna. Into the final 20 minutes in Parramatta. So it's probably the best news of the night for Western Sydney Wanderers. Wanderers have a home game against Western United next week. And then a couple of tough trips. One long, one short. They go to Perth. And then the short hop to Macarthur. And that game might have a bit of spice in it as well, Harps, after the way the last meeting finished between the two.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it's just getting to that part of the season and teams are struggling for consistency. really adds to the frustration levels.
Arias. Courtney Perkins was just an immovable object. Sapsford takes over and a little ricochet. Drops gently into the gloves of Andrew Redmayne. Sydney will welcome Brisbane next week, and then very intriguing the next couple of fixtures after that, Andy. A trip to Wellington and then a home game against the Mariners.
Well, yeah. Well, I was just, before you bring the schedule up, I was going to say the three teams that are playing with any sort of...
Just break off and see if Zach Sapsford can finish this. Deflection, they have one back. Zach Sapsford will claim it. Took a touch off the defender. Andrew Redmayne is going to have to wait again for that clean sheet. The Wanderers are on the boards. It might not make any difference to where the points are going, but it's some consolation. And Zach Sapsford, who scored, of course, in late November, is the architect again.
Well, the deflection on the Harvey Norman replay off the unfortunate Jake Girdwood-Wright, who's close to the best player on the field. Now, this has to pass the offside test first. It was line ball, the deflection beating Redmayne, nothing he can do about it. Sapsford winning the derby at Allianz, and now perhaps breathing some life into this one. That should pass muster, based on the eye line we've got. Nothing the keeper or the defender can do about that.
Goal stands. It'll go down as an own goal to Jake Girdwood-Wright. And it is Zach Sapsford who has given the Wanderers a little hope.
Well, Girdwood-Wright, I mean, he will have the own goal next to his name, but it doesn't blot his copybook. He hasn't done a lot of the pretty stuff tonight. That's been for some other players, but he's been as good as anyone on assignment for Sky Blue. They're still going at it, like terriers.
By the way, we're told, oh, that's a nasty challenge by Girdwood-Wright on Sapsford. And there's going to be a card here for Jake Girdwood-Wright. Just got to keep their heads, Sydney FC. And by the way, we're told VAR has confirmed it is going to be Zach Sapsford's goal. So go figure.
Well, you're looking at me with raised eyebrows, Simon, like I should have an answer for that.
Well,
I mean, we saw the 90-degree deflection.
You're the ex-player, Andy.
Well, the good news about that then is that Jake Girdwood-Wright doesn't have to answer for an own goal in the history books.
Just picked up his 4th yellow card of the season, though. One more would accrue a one-game suspension, of course. Still a quarter of an hour plus stoppages to go. Another Wanderers goal might just make it a little bit interesting. They're a long way from climbing the mountain, but they've started the journey at least. Official Tim Danaskos playing ball boy. Sydney FC are preparing a couple of changes, by the way, on the sideline as Joe Lolly chases after this one, has Shikluna at his back. Squares it up, but only finds Oscar Priestman. He'll drive through midfield. He's being held back there. It's going to be another card. Corey Holman goes into the book.
That's a very good burst by Priestman. Yellow card, the appropriate outcome.
Marcelo. Simmons. Priestman. Beadling. Shikluna. Brandon Borello in acres of space on the right. That was the intended ball, but well cut out by Burgess, who's looking a little bit leggy and he's been dispossessed, and the shot is fired in with real venom by Brandon Borello after Zach Sapsford had nicked the ball away, and Redmayne forced into making a pretty good save.
Yeah, great reflexes from the orange wiggle towards zero, as he's named this evening. Great piece of work from the goalkeeper, and Brandon Barella trying to force an error on the way through. It's a good effort from Brandon Barella. Just think back 75 minutes ago of playing time, he had that break down the far touchline, start of the match, crossed the ball just behind Nick Milanovic. And you thought, here we go, the Wanderers are looking good. Ball went upfield for a Sydney corner, 1-0 Sydney. And it's been pretty much Sydney traffic since.
Well, we're going to have a triple change for Sydney FC shortly. Jaden Kucharski, Mitch Glasson and Nathan Amanatidis all standing by. Eager to get a taste of the derby action. Forward by Shikluna for the Wanderers. Easy win in the air though for Courtney Perkins. Shikluna sidesteps Lolly. Did well there, Dylan Shikluna. And the Wanderers perhaps feeling they should have had a foul, and in fairness to Alex King, he delayed because they were in possession of the ball. It's good refereeing.
Yeah, I think Lockie Brook might take the hint that the ref's onto it.
A few of those changes for Sydney. Fabio Gomez will not get the chance to complete his hat-trick. His number has been called. Robert Mack, who's also on the score sheet, is also going to take his leave, as is Max Burgess, who just pulled up a bit late in the previous passage of play, and Jaden Kucharski is his replacement, but it was... Yep, you, Max. It's his involvement that led Sydney FC the penalty after just 6 minutes. Robert Mack and Fabio Gomez have made mighty contributions as well. So some fresh legs, particularly up top for Sydney FC. Maybe the intensity of that press had just dropped off a bit, understandably, with a 4-0 lead and with 20 minutes to go. 4-1 lead, of course it is now.
Yeah, it seems 4-1 or 4-0, it seems equally improbable that the Wanderers are going to get out of this. It would be a comeback for the ages if they can. They've shown some moments recently, which is good for them. But distance second best on balance, and maybe that opportunity for coach Tale to rest some of the older players. And Max Burgess, who was stunning to start the game, hasn't had a lot of football this year. But the irony of the Max Burgess, I mean, he's been around for a while, but it was under the coaching of Marco Rudan that Burgess really started to take off. Wellington and then Western United. And he was one of the key architects in the Wanderers' downfall here today.
Sydney could be in again. They forced the error from the Wanderers, but they've survived that particular raid.
And I say downfall such that it currently is. It's maybe a huge thing for them to unpick this mess. But where there's life, there's hope.
Well, this really would be a comeback for the ages if they would pull it off the Wanderers. Can't say it's looked very likely. And the Sydney FC fans getting their Wanderers equivalents a bit of a taste of their own medicine with the positive. As we tick over into the last 10 minutes. Sent forward by Marcelo. Simmons trying to take the ball with him. Scooped up over the top by Brook. Parias is after it. Touch too heavy. Sydney have still got a bit of ground, Andy, to make up on Wellington and the Mariners up at the top, but on current form, this would be 7 unbeaten, presuming they see this game out with those 2 big fixtures to come. And as you bank against the push for the top 2.
No, and as you rightly brought up, they've got those 2 coming up in the next few weeks, so it's going to be a mighty job for them to keep this run going.
It's a mighty header from Joe Lolly.
But it's also, if they can maintain some consistency, it's going to be very difficult for Wellington and the Mariners to see them away, as well as both are playing. I mean, the Mariners with another win today, I mean, they've just been phenomenal over the last 2.5, 3 months.
Sydney go hunting in fact. Simmons is good enough to get through that. Shakluna. Brook. Sapsford. Couldn't take the ball with him. There's from Redmayne. Straight down the throat. The Wanderers, but Parias here is offside. I guess that one of the most impressive things for Sydney today, it's marginal, but it's probably just the right decision. And we see the same with the Mariners halves, certainly in their recent run, is the intensity of play and the ability to maintain that intensity over the course of, well, most of the game anyway. And it's in a league where we play in summer and conditions are sometimes sapping. You know, we don't always see that full intensity.
Yeah, that's right. It's the teams who can do it well and are prepared to do it regularly and are conditioned to do that between the ears as much as physically. And it's the daring the other team. Are you going to be good enough? Is your technique sound enough to play through our helter-skelter gegenpress? And tonight the answer for the Wanderers' viewpoint has been no, they haven't been good enough. They've really buckled under the Sydney onslaught. The Mariners turn up the heat and ask the question. Other teams find it difficult to see them off. Wellington are a different story. Their approach is to sit back and catch teams on the counter-attack, basically, which they do incredibly effectively.
Yeah, there are many different ways to skin a cat. It's working for Wellington. They're in action against Adelaide United tomorrow. Part of a double-header, Brisbane Roar against Melbourne Victory the other game. The game seems to be drifting towards its inevitable conclusion, and it's seemingly been that way as early as the 3rd minute when Sydney FC hit the front thanks to Ryan Grant, their captain on the night.
Just look at that work from Jake Gerwood-Wright, who's playing as a left centre-back.
There's Courtney Perkins, meantime, who's not quite got the energy to get around the fullback, and the shot from Kucharski got a touch off Margush, and it's going to be a corner.
So from left centre-back, the ball comes out to the near touchline, the Wanderers' right wing. And as one player Sydney is beaten, Gerwood-Wright is there to get in front of the Western Sydney Wanderers player to win the ball. This is a near thing for a 5th for Sydney too. Corner to come, no rush in taking it. Sydney players doing a little bit of groundskeeping on the way over.
Yeah, we could do without the bottles being thrown on. Joe Lolly just keeping a watchful eye on what's coming from the stands. Still the missiles come. This is ridiculous. Lolly delivers the corner anyway. And the whistle blows in favour of Western Sydney Wanderers. Late change for Sydney FC. Corey Holman on that yellow card. Takes his leave. And he's played an important role in that Sydney FC midfield. Disrupted, of course, today by the absence of Luke Bratton, who's done a terrific job. And Matthew Scarcella, the 19-year-old, is on for the final few minutes. It's pure joy in that little corner of Combank Stadium. There's our Paramount Plus player index marks for this evening, so far anyway. Robert Mack out on top. Here's Mitch Glasson. Chance to add his name to the score sheet. It's a good clean tackle. Pops out for Lolly. And Priestman made the block. Really, in terms of top placings, if Sydney get another free kick, you could pick any one of the Sydney FC 11.
Yeah, they've been excellent tonight. It's just been a thorough performance. It's certainly sent out a warning, I'd say, league-wide. I mean, people have been watching the shadow of Sydney FC growing and looming under Ufuk Talay. But the manner in which they've dispatched the Western Sydney Wanderers this evening has really been something. And I've got no doubt the Wanderers will regroup. There's still a lot to play for this season. Tonight's match has gone, the points have gone, the derby rights have gone. But there's still a lot for this squad to achieve this season. They've got a good foundation, good squad of players. They've had some good football this season, if the results have been inconsistent. This will knock them around a bit, be a real test of their mentality and togetherness. I believe they'll get through it. They're going to have to get through it pretty quickly after tonight. Get back on the horse and look forward to the next match.
It's not been a particularly happy return to the dugout for Marco Rudan. It's well played by Dylan Chicluna. Again, is impressed off the bench in another unfamiliar role. Played right back against the Central Coast Mariners. He's at left back tonight as a replacement for Jack Clisby. Is about to turn to the fourth official, Tim Danaskos, to see how many minutes he will add on at the end of the 90. One of the Wanderers fans are making for the exits. Disappointing night for them. Followed by Courtney Perkins. Simmons is there. Mitch Glasson first to the rebounds. Manatidis losing out to Simmons. We're going to have 4 minutes added on. A little bit of late push and shove, but all the heat has long since gone out of this derby. I think the word that you used, Hart, sums it up: brutal. Sydney have been brutal tonight in their efficiency. Luke Bratton watching on. He'll be back next week for the home game against Brisbane. Will he get in the team?
Somehow I think so. Although, to your point, there's no one who started tonight deserves not to be there. Next week they've been excellent.
can have a crack here. Fancied he might. Scored in any of his last 5 games, Joe Lolly. He always contributes. Forward by Simmons, but only a sky blue jersey there in the shape of Caceres. This is Kucharski. Caceres has been very good as well. And a slightly different role for him this evening. Simmons places it out in front of Piraeus. Can he find the right cross? It's not bad, and Redmayne makes a good save actually to deny Zach Sapsford another late consolation.
Yeah, got great angle on that header, Sapsford. Very difficult to execute that one. All in for Piraeus, whose speed got him to possession before the byline. Delivery is really well dealt with from Sapsford, and Redmayne has to save and does so very, very well.
He's only played 58 minutes since the last derby, Zach Sapsford. He's had injuries as Redmayne fists away that corner. Back out towards Jorrit Hendricks. Solo climbing, but beaten by Lacerda, and flag is up. And the next phase of play should just about see us through to full time. And confirm Sydney FC's 16th derby win. Marco Rudan's press conference will make for interesting listening at his team's performance tonight and how they adapted, or to the point didn't, to that press that he forewarned them about all week. Anatidis too determined for Marcelo. Could there be a late goal here for Sydney? Kucharski is in position. Oh, it's dragged well wide by Matthew Scarcella. Chance for him to put his name up in the derby headlines.
And Joe Lolly wanted one more pass to Scarcella's right.
The demolition derby is complete for the 3rd trip running. Sydney FC win the derby at Combank and ease above their cross-city rivals on the ladder. For the 5th consecutive derby, it's the away team that wins out. Ryan Grant got them on their way after just 3 minutes. Fabio Gomez grabbed a brace, one from the penalty spot, and Robert Mack got on the score sheet as well. Zach Sapsford with a late consolation for Marco Rudan's team, but they were well beaten tonight by an excellent Sydney FC team. And watch out, A-League, the Sky Blues you fancy are coming. 7 matches unbeaten now, but this is the game that matters the most. Ufuk Talay has his first derby win as Sydney FC coach, and it was emphatic. Final score at Combank Stadium: Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Sydney FC 4.
Yes, here with Ryan Grant, the skipper for tonight, mate. That wasn't just a derby win, it was an utter domination. What sort of a statement performance do you feel that was for this team?
Yeah, massive statement. I think we've been in good form leading into this game. Maybe didn't get as many wins as we could have. But yeah, coming out and beating them 4-1 on their own home turf, it doesn't get much bigger.
How about to open it up off your noggin there? How is the head? Because it was a rocket off your head there.
Yeah, it's just Joe put it on a platter. Just have to be in the right place at the right time and just get contact. And been on a bit of a run with goals, so it doesn't happen very often, so I'll take them, especially in a big game like today.
You like it on this big stage at this ground too, didn't you? Score one down that end in a grand final, potentially to win one. I mean, you like it on a biggest stage possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love a big game. It's always a big game against the Wanderers. So yeah, like I said, to come here and to get the win is awesome. Obviously the score's great too, and in front of the Cove too, they come out in numbers. To be able to do it at that end in front of them again was awesome.
A birthday gift for you too. It was your birthday this week, wasn't it? So hip hip hooray to you, celebrate with a goal. But what does this mean for the team moving forward?
Yeah, again, massive statement, like you said. Not only for the way we're going at the moment and in the ladder and in the league, but just for ourselves to get a pretty dominant win. We've been playing well, but doing it consistently over 90 minutes was a big thing, and I think we did that today. Obviously, they had a few chances towards the end. It's always going to be that way, but yeah, and massive statement again from us.
They're going nuts for you. Go and enjoy, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Is also joining me, Marcelo. Mate, that wasn't really what we're used to seeing from the Wanderers at all. Can you describe your emotion after a performance like that one tonight?
Yeah, we are very disappointed with our start of the game. They come in our home, they fight, they win the duels, and it cannot happen, you know? You need to be smart and understand that football, if you don't give 200%, especially in this kind of game, we get punished, you know, after that. So they did very well today. So we need to lift up our head now and then continue to work, you know. But today we are really disappointed with the result, and yeah, that's what I can say now.
I saw you laying down the law at half-time, trying to rev up the troops, and then after that fourth goal as well, you were very unhappy, very disappointed, went and had a chat to Roots. Can you give us an insight as to what displeased you so much?
Yeah, that's not us. No, that's not Western Wonders. That's not how we play. You know, that's why we are really sad, because we can do better than this, and we know that. But we need to show up in the inside of the field. You know, so we're gonna work. We're gonna keep going. Football, things change very quick, and hopefully we're gonna come back. We're gonna bounce back and try to continue our journey.
Okay, you got Western United next. They got a win today, but they're at the bottom of the table. So how do you go about rallying the troops and make sure you bounce back this week?
Yeah, it's no other way to think about to win the game. We need to win the game and try to get more points to qualify to the playoffs. That's how we go.
All right, mate. Thanks so much for chatting to us.